sometimes I hated him. Like, how dare you put all of this on me? I didn't sign up for this.
But it's very difficult to both be 1,000% in and super successful and thriving and just like mentally all in.
My contribution made it so that he could blow up. Like, we're a team.
You want to find someone you can grow with.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. I have an amazing guest. It's Kristen Reyes. She's a top producing agent in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And we actually met because she started coaching with my husband and we developed a relationship there. So I want to have a conversation with her about her superpowers and also working with her husband, which we have in common. So welcome, Kristen. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to just kind of start with your background. Like, what brought you into real estate in the first place?
Yeah. So when my husband played football, and so towards the end of his football career, we started buying multifamily properties. And we just kind of saw that as a way that if he was forced to retire or got injured, which he ended up getting injured, that we would at least have some sort of income coming in, so that it wouldn't be like a total halt to everything that we had going on. And so we were buying these multifamilies, and the whole process of it was so confusing. We had a great agent, but I think sometimes when you are a real estate agent, you forget that you're working with people that have no idea what they're doing. And we had no idea what we were doing. And so we were being explained things at a really high level and we were way down here, you know? And so I just felt like there has to be a better way to do this. So when I started thinking about this, I said to myself, I could do this. I could be someone who is helping people, but helping more than what I felt like what I got. So we started out with, I got my real estate license actually 1 month before our second son was born. So I was 8 months pregnant. My first headshot is like from my boobs up, and you can just barely see like this huge ball underneath. And I was so pregnant and so swollen, but I was like, I'm going to do this. And so at the beginning, I had KJ February of 2018, and then Kenzie was born 15 months later. So that whole first 2 years, everything I did, I had a baby with me, like going to showings with the baby, going to closings with the baby in the pouch, because yeah, you could get childcare, but they're too young at that point. Or in my opinion, they were too young for me to really be leaving them with anyone else. And if I was going to be leaving them with someone else, then like, what was the point of me even trying to work? I should have just, stayed home. So that was how I got started. So it was a very challenging start to real estate, trying to figure out, like, Kendall just got injured in football. So how are we going to do this together? Or am I just going to be a real estate agent? What are you going to do? And like, also we have 2 babies, and then we had an older one too. So it was crazy, but we figured it all out, and now we're here 6.5 years in.
That's super inspiring, because I know a lot of, women feel like, I can't have it all. I can't do it all. This is so overwhelming. So what was your secret? Like, how did you balance having 3 kids and working at the same time? I know, like, you're bringing your kids sometimes, but what is the secret to doing that?
I don't know that there is a secret. I feel like every part of my motherhood experience so far, I have felt like I'm surviving, not thriving. I don't know. Does anyone really feel like they just are so good at it and they're giving it their all and they're totally focused and that they're just the best at this? Because I don't feel like that. There's days when, like tonight, Kenzie has her first night of her cheer camp that she's been so excited to do for 3 years because her older sister is a cheerleader. But I have to go to 2 showings and I have to do them because my husband has something else going on, and then my buyer's agent has something else going on. So I have to do these showings. I'm like, man, I really wanted to be there. And most of the time I can make it work and I can be the mom first, but not always. And so it's never perfect. I don't know if there is a secret sauce. You just have to kind of figure out the balance.
Yeah, there's always going to be a trade-off, but I think you would agree that your kids watching you work and be successful is such a great learning experience for them. So like, what is the big takeaway that you want to teach your kids? Like, what do you want to pass down to them, seeing their mom work and their parents work together? What does that mean for you?
I think the biggest thing is just showing them that you can set your mind to something and do it. I think if you ask any of my kids, if whenever I say, what do you want to do when you're older? They all say they want to own a business, which I know is so funny because it's actually really, really hard to own a business. But I'm like, you don't want to work for someone else. You want to be able to be in control of your own schedule and be in control of your own income. And, you know, if I want to go to Greece in October for 2 weeks, I'll figure it out and go to Greece in October for 2 weeks. I'm not asking anyone for permission. And so I think that that's the big thing, that I just want them to understand that the way I grew up thinking that everyone has to have this corporate job that's safe and that has the dependable paycheck isn't necessarily the only route to go. And I mean, it's safe, but I watched my dad when I was in college. My dad got laid off from, he's an executive in IT, and I watched him get laid off during the 2008 market crash. And so it's not like when you work in these corporate jobs that you have this super safe environment. You still have some risk. But yeah, if you ask my kids, they all think that they want to own a business. I just want that in their head so that they know that there's options.
Of course. It's like a new mental map that they're being born into, that they can do anything. It's not just like there's this one path where you have to go to college and you have to get a job. And, you know, there's so many possibilities and so many, you know, skills and gifts that we all have. So I think that's awesome.
How about for you? Do you feel like you have like a secret sauce or something that you have just figured out that makes you be successful as both a mom and a wife and in owning a business?
You're not supposed to ask me questions, okay? This is my podcast. I think, honestly, our secret weapon is that Aaron and I both have completely separate skills. So he has always been the salesperson. He's always been the prospector, the one that goes on appointments. And he dedicated a lot more time to that. And I kind of split my time to doing the systems, the management of the operations manager. So managing the staff, but also all the kids stuff. Like I really took that on myself. And like you said, it definitely wasn't perfect. Sometimes it was a shit show. Sometimes I resented it. And, you know, sometimes I hated him. Like, how dare you put all of this on me? I didn't sign up for this. So I think it's just important to remember that everything is a season. And it's continuously changing. Even now, we're evolving, we're learning new skills, but we always complement each other. So that's a great segue to ask you how it is working with your husband, the good and the bad. And would you recommend it?
Yeah. So one thing that we've learned from you and Aaron is to just take on separate sides of the business. When we first started, both of us this is actually really embarrassing and it's a total nightmare, but when we first started in the business, we would both work with the same clients. So say we're working with Bob and Susie. Bob, Susie, Kendall, Kristen would all be on all the emails and all of the text messages together. But then if Bob had a last minute question and calls Kendall would answer it to Bob, and then both of them would forget to tell Susie and Kristen. So then we would talk about it again, and they would be like, oh, we just had a phone conversation about that. And we would get mad at each other because I'm like, how do you not tell me? But he's like, I just got off the phone. Or like, oh, I had to go right to a showing, so I forgot to put it in the message. So, and it went both ways. We both did this all the time, and it was driving us insane. And so that was phase one. And then we started working with our own clients, but same type of client, but we would just both take on clients. And that was a lot better because at least we were both handling our own stuff. But sometimes still it would be really good friends. And so if it was our really good family friends or something like that, they would still ask Kendall questions, even though I would be their agent. And maybe he would have given an answer that I wouldn't have. And so still was a little bit tricky. So now we have our ideal client and we separate that way. So Kendall handles more of the investment stuff and growing our portfolio, growing other people's portfolios, and handling any of like the multifamilies, development, stuff like that. He still does handle single family clients as well if they're in his sphere, but I take on the bulk of the single family or condo purchases for the bulk of our sphere. And that allows it so that I can be an expert at that and Kendall can be an expert at the investment side of things. And that way, if someone calls me and they say, hey, I'm thinking like we just bought our single family last year, but we kind of want a multi, I'm like, call Kendall. I don't know. I don't even want to know. Just call Kendall. And that has allowed us to be able to grow together. I don't know if you noticed this, but if I look back at just our relationship, Kendall and I's relationship from the start, I feel like it's very difficult in a marriage, and especially when you throw kids in, to both be thriving at the same time. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
When Kendall, like when he played football, I was the person there supporting, right? And then when he stopped playing football, I was trying to help him figure out what he's going to do next. And then when he decided on real estate, I was kind of already more so in real estate. So that was like where I was up and he was trying to support me there. And now we'll kind of go back and forth on like, okay, if he has a ton of stuff going on, like he has this huge development coming up in New Hampshire, it's 42 units, which is really exciting. So that's something that I'll be supporting him on. But it's very difficult to both be 1,000% in and super successful and thriving and just like mentally all in at the same time, because one person has to take care of the rest of the stuff in life, like the kids and the house and everything else.
I think it's impossible. Honestly, it's impossible for both people to be like doing everything at their highest level. I think someone is going to have to make a sacrifice in that department. And it took me a while to come to grips with that, because that's the resentment of like, I, could have been doing my career stuff during the time when you were blowing up. But then I realized like, it took me a while, but I realized that like my contribution made it so that he could blow up. Like we're a team. We're all in it together. So whoever's blowing up doesn't really matter. Like we're a team. We're the same person. You just have to really put your ego aside sometimes, because being the mom or the person on the back end isn't always sexy. But the new evolution is now I'm starting to come out of the back end, doing podcasts, doing more content, and Aaron is super supportive. So like I said, everything's a season and you can always reinvent yourself, even if it's not always pretty or fun. But there's always more to learn and there's always more to grow. As long as you guys are both on the same page, like the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm. That's something. One of our first coaching calls with Aaron, he said, you want to find someone you can grow with. And I think about that all the time, because you could be married to anyone. That sounds bad, but you could, you have your choice of, you could marry a bunch of different people, but you really need to think about who is it that you're going to be with that's going to help you grow and that you can build something together that is your legacy.
Yeah, you both have to want that, because some people don't want that. And you also have to really communicate that. So Aaron one year was like, okay, we're going to do 200 deals. And I was just in the back of my mind like, well, did you ask me? Like, do I want to do 200 deals? 200 deals is 24/7, just like craziness. So after that year, we did the 200 deals. We did it 2 years in a row. And I sat him down and I was like, we need to have goals together, because just because you want to do 200 deals and you can do 200 deals, it doesn't mean that it's best for everyone on the team. So I think it's really being really conscientious of that and sitting down and really hashing it out together, because growth can happen in a lot of different ways. It doesn't just have to be deals. It's been a learning experience for sure. We met when we were kids. So it's been a lot of journeys and a lot of, different phases.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it wild to look back though? And I don't know if you feel like this, but I think to myself all the time, like I prayed for this, like I wanted this. Like I am with a guy that I absolutely love. We have 3 healthy kids. We're growing a business. Like even when I first got my real estate license, I would sit there. I got my brand new laptop and I would sit there and be like, what do you do? What is this job? How do I find people? And I would just pray that one day I would figure it out, and I would be so busy and I would have so many people to call every day, but I had no idea what to do. And now I have that. I have, a big business, and I have the people that I call every day, and I have the clients, and I have the business, and this is what I prayed for.
It's crazy. Like if you would have asked me in high school, let's say, what would your dream life be? It was so simple and so basic. Like, oh, I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want to have a business. I want to be able to send my kids to whatever school they want. And so they could do extracurricular activities, and I want to travel maybe here and there. Like that was it, And so I reflect and I'm like, I achieved all that in my 30s. Like it's crazy. Sometimes we have to really step back and just be grateful. Like my life's freaking awesome.
Absolutely. With or without 200 deals.
Exactly. So, well, how did you find Aaron? Like, how did you come into his coaching program?
I saw him on Instagram before he blew up.
When I was posting pictures of our kids, like he says.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew I needed a coach because what had happened, Kendall, he had gone back to play football again after his injury, and then he got injured again. So he was definitely done with football. And then he was coaching. He coached college football for a year. And then he was jumping around doing a couple other things, mostly because we were afraid that if he came full-time in real estate, we were like, how do you not have a real income, like a dependable income when we have 3 little kids, and how do you not have health insurance? We were so scared. And so he bounced around doing those other things and kept feeling like I'm not myself. And he really wanted to do real estate, but I was terrified because I was thinking to myself, I'm going to be his boss, and I don't want to be his boss. Like we clash a lot on different things. And I'm like, I can't be the one telling him what to do because it's going to kill me and he's going to hate me. And so I thought to myself, I need to hire a coach. Kendall loves being coached. Like he's a football player, right? And so I was like, I have to find a man who is going to be able to coach both of us and that can give Kendall almost like a guideline of like what to do every day so that I'm not doing it. And not that he needs this, now, but when you first start, you kind of have no idea what to do. And you're sitting around like, so what's the plan for today? Who are we going to call? And so that's, I started seeing some of Aaron's stuff online, and I watched a bunch of videos, and I just felt like he was like down to earth and that we would both get along with him really well. And so that was when I reached out.
Everyone's playing checkers and you're playing chess over there. I like how you think. Like, I need a man to tell my man what to do so I don't have to. Love it. So that's interesting that you found him on social media, because you guys are really putting a lot of effort now into social media. I wonder who, made you do that. But how is that going? I want to know, because you guys are really funny, like authentic. Was that easy for you to find that authentic voice, or did it take some time? Like, what is your big takeaway from your social media journey?
I think that when we started this, we were, 27, and I feel like we were so young that we didn't know how to take ourselves too seriously yet. That was probably our leg up in the social media stuff, because a lot of people probably started adapting to it a decade later than us, in life. And so I think we just never took ourselves very seriously, and we have fun on there. And so that's how we get a good amount of our clients, is people just resonate with, we're normal people. We just want to help you, and we're really good at it. We're not trying to be anything we're not. I think that's the big thing. I never want to come off as someone that I'm not. And so the other part of it is I'm not afraid to get on the camera. Kendall's working on it a lot more now, because he'll make the same video 7 times before he can do it. And I get it. At the beginning, I was like that too. I just have done it so much now that it's just normal. But people want to know you. And it's the easiest way to get to a lot of people to know you at the same time is to put it on social media. So I guess I think of it as every time I show up, people are going to show up for me.
That's awesome. So you're saying that it works. People actually contact you saying, hey, I want to buy or sell from social media.
Yes, I have an active listing right now that the woman's daughter found us on Instagram and reached out, and now their house is listed.
That's awesome. It
Yeah.
works, Aaron. It works.
It works.
No, he goes on these whole tirades, trying to convince people to, get out of their comfort zone and do social media. And I think a lot of people don't really believe that it works or that they can do it. But like you said, you just have to make yourself do it. And at first it's going to suck, probably. I mean, it's part of the game. You have to suck at first.
Yeah, it is what it is. There's a barrier to entry. You have to get good at it.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm good at it still.
Yeah. I told Kendall, I'm like, all you need is one person to comment on your video and say like, oh, I love that multi. That looks like a great investment. And your chest is going to puff up and you're going to be like, I'm going to do another one of those. You just need that one little vote of confidence to get you to keep going.
I also feel like putting out a really bad video gives me a lot of motivation to cover it up with a better one. So it goes both ways. Oh my God, that was horrible.
I know. Now I see how much, Aaron's account has grown, and he's always pushing like quantity. You have to do it more. You have to do it more. And I understand that, and I've wrapped my head around that, but trying to come up with that much content is really hard.
Same. But what he has taught me is that I have to document what I'm already doing. Like these podcasts, for example, can be, clipped up into a bunch of different shorts. So I think it's being strategic, but I get it. It's hard to be so creative, like 24/7.
Yeah.
But you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
So I also wanted to talk about another superpower that I feel like you guys have, and that's doing client events. You've been really creative in doing different things. So I wanted to ask you, how that's going, what works, what doesn't, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So the whole idea behind the client events is to bring people together in community. Obviously, when in the beginning of 2020s, we had COVID. And so everyone was totally separate in their own houses. Their only community was online. And one of our big things was like, let's bring people back together. And we live in a small town. Our town has maybe 15, 16,000 people. All of the towns around us are kind of similar, maybe 20,000. So they're small communities where people want connection. We all moved up into these houses from the Boston, or a lot of us moved up to these houses from the Boston area, and not everybody knows each other. And so how can we bring people together? Because everyone wants community. And so the events that we've chosen to do, most of them are just things that we want to do, that we're like, we may as well make this an event and invite other people, because I'm sure if we like it, other people will like it, especially with the whole social media thing. We gear our stuff towards our ideal client. So our ideal client likes what we like. And so like our last event was espresso martini and pizza making at this new, like, beautiful development that they did in the town next to us that has a scratch kitchen. So it was like 20 of us that we rented out the scratch kitchen, and we got to learn how to make espresso martinis and little pizzas using all the food from the Italian market. And it was so fun. And it was something Kendall's like, I love pizza. I love espresso martinis. So they're going to love pizza and they're going to love espresso martinis. But it was such a fun event. And other things, I mean, my kids are mixed race, and they loved when they saw the pilot for The Little Mermaid. They were so excited that The Little Mermaid looks like them. And so they wanted to go see The Little Mermaid. And I said, why don't we just rent out the theater and invite 100 people, And so that was one of our client events. But it's just fun doing things and building community and getting to know people where they're comfortable, especially in the events where we get to invite their families and have the kids come and stuff. That's what I love, because they're making lasting memories with their family, and I get to be a part of it.
That's so great. And it's so simple. Like, oh, my audience is just like me. What do I like? Let's do that. I mean, I would love to make pizza, and, that's just so fun.
Yeah. We've been able to do some fun events that some of them are really big. Some of them are smaller. Not everybody is the same. Some people want to go to the brewery event, but wouldn't want to go to the movie theater, but we'll leave the invite open to everybody and hope that they can all make it to a couple things.
It's great. So Aaron mentioned that you guys hired an event planner. Is that right?
Yeah. So my girlfriend, she plans our events. Yeah. She doesn't have an event planning company or anything, but she
But she
plans my
helps.
events. Yeah. It's definitely
That's
helpful
awesome.
just thinking of things that I would never think of and taking care of the little logistics that I can't track. So,
Yeah, it's always way more than you think it's going to be. So I think that's smart to get someone else to help.
yeah, you have to have a head count 2 weeks before. You have to have the menu done a week before. You have to, you know, constantly be keeping up with the Evite to see who's coming, who canceled. Do we need to reschedule? Like, there's just so much involved that I don't have the time to deal with.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is just getting people to come. Even if it's an awesome event, you have to like constantly, follow up with them. So is there anything that you guys are doing to, get people to come and once they RSVP actually show up?
I would say that again, a lot of our events are funner type things that people would want to come to. We definitely have to follow up a lot more on things like if we do a buyer seminar or a seller seminar. On Tuesday, we did a home buyer happy hour, which was great. It was like a no pressure at a restaurant brewery type thing where you could just ask questions. It was not a seminar, but it had the words home buyer on it. So I feel like just that required us to do a lot more follow up to see if people really were going to be coming. Because I think if it's a fun event that's just purely fun, that's an easy yes. Whereas something that's more geared towards, are you actually going to buy or sell? That requires more follow up. But with that being said, just, making sure that we call everybody personally and see if they are interested in coming. And then we'll send out, a few reminders ahead of time and just making sure that they know that we really want them to be there. They're not just a name on the Evite.
That's great. And I think it's really important that even if they don't come, just you calling them and making them feel like you want them there is a touch.
Yeah.
And it's a way to kind of foster that relationship. So it's good all around, whether they come or not.
Right. Exactly. They know they're invited.
Awesome. Well, one thing I know about you is that you are an avid book reader. I read one of the books that you recommended to me, Lessons in Chemistry, and it was so good. So I wanted to ask you a book or maybe more than one book that you're reading right now that you really love.
Okay, so I actually don't ever read business stuff. I know that's bad. I'm all for absorbing great content on social and watching videos that are inspiring and stuff that are 15 seconds long. But if I'm forced to read 350 pages about a business, I'm not even joking. I probably have in my office 20 books that I've been recommended to read that are just sitting in there. And you could probably see them dog-eared on like page 8. It's totally glazed over. I'm like, I can't do it. It's not for me. That's not the way I absorb information about business.
I get it.
I love Kristen Hanna. Have you ever read any of her books, like The Nightingale or Homefront? Or she just came out with The Women. She writes a lot of historical fiction about World War I, World War II, Cold War, and 9/11, those types of things. And just a lot of them are about stories about the women during that time, whether they were the women staying home, taking care of the families while the men were away, or if they were the women that went and fought. And I love her books. So Nightingale is unbelievable. I just read Winter Garden, which was also very, very good, but highly recommend Kristen Hanna.
Awesome. This could be like your little treat. If you read one business book, you get to read 3 fun books. That's what I do anyway, because I feel the same way. The business books are kind of hard to get through sometimes. But then I'm like, once I get through this, then I get to read the fun one.
Yeah, I know. The other thing with business books, I feel like a lot of them are people almost like touting or bragging about themselves and how they made it. And I'm like, can we just relax on your own ego and tell people how to do it themselves? That's what I have a hard time with. I'm like, great. Oh, wow. Look at this whole full page about all the things you did. That's wonderful. I'm going to stop reading now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I am so grateful that you took some time out of your crazy schedule to come talk with me. If anyone has any questions for you about events or social media or anything, how can they find you?
Yeah, so my social handle is at Reyes Home Team, Reyes, Reyes Home Team. And our website is reyeshometeam.net. So those are the best ways to contact me.
Awesome. And if you know anybody who wants to buy or sell in New Hampshire or Massachusetts, she's your girl.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again, Kristen.
All right, have a great day.
You too.